Now, in this lesson, we're going to be looking at one more form of wireless communication technology. And I happen to like this picture an awful lot. The thing on the left is actually an RFID chip, and the thing on the right is actually a single grain of rice. So you can see just how small RFID chips are. Now, let's talk about what RFID is. RFID is radio frequency identification. It is a use of electromagnetic fields in order to get data from one thing to another. With RFID, you're probably using it a lot more regularly than perhaps you are aware of. If you are using a tag in order to bypass toll booths with one of these little devices here that you may find in a number of locations, then you are actually using RFID. RFID comes in a couple of different varieties. There's active and there's passive. Now, if you've got active RFID, you've actually got a chip that's actually transmitting a frequency. If you've got passive, what you've got is an RFID chip that is waiting to be activated by a scanner that sends an electromagnetic signal to the chip, and then the chip actually uses the power in that electromagnetic signal to power the response back to the scanner. So you could have a passive reader and an active tag, meaning the reader doesn't really do much of anything other than sit there and listen, waiting for tags to send data to them. You could have an active reader and a passive tag, meaning that the active reader is actually sending a signal and the tag is not doing anything until it actually picks up that electromagnetic signal from the reader. You could also, of course, have an active reader and an active tag, meaning the tag is actually powered as well. So there are a lot of different uses. One of them is actually tracking of goods, and you may use this in shipping situations where you could actually use an RFID tag and be able to determine exactly what's in a box just by running a scanner over it. Or if you've got an active tag, you may be able to determine where in a particular warehouse or in an aisle of a warehouse a specific box actually is. Again, it depends on whether you are using active or passive RFID. Now, there's an advantage to using RFID over barcodes because you may be thinking that a barcode would do the same thing. The problem with a barcode is that you actually have to turn the box in such a way that you actually have the barcode visible to the scanner, and then you actually have to scan the barcode. If that barcode isn't visible if the box is turned over, an RFID tag is actually better because the electromagnetic signal, either emanating from the tag or from the scanner, will actually pass through the boxes, and you can actually read the information without having to flip the box over. So, as I mentioned, you can use RFID with tracking of goods or boxes, toll collection. You could also use RFID, and it is sometimes used for travel documents like passports. Now, here's an example of an RFID tag used by Walmart. This is actually one that's in use. You can see kind of a circuit pattern on it. That's what an RFID tag actually would look like. You can also use RFID tags in badges in order to provide access to somebody. This would be similar to near field communication that we had talked about previously. RFID could actually have a little chip in a badge, and then you could swipe your badge, have an active reader on the badge reader, and that would provide information about you so that a determination could be made as to whether you should be given access or not. Now, there's a disadvantage to RFID in the sense that I may be able to pick up information from an RFID chip by having a scanner, and by actually scanning that chip, I may be able to pull data out of it. So as a result, there needs to be additional security controls in place so that not everybody can just read the chips that are going by. That's actually one of the concerns with regards to passports and RFID tags in the passports, was it provided an opportunity for somebody to actually read information out of the passport if it happened to be nearby. somebody could have an RFID scanner and actually read passport information. That was a concern at one point. So RFID certainly has a lot of uses, but you do have to be a little bit more careful about the mechanisms that are in place where you're actually using RFID. It's not like near field communication where you really do have to be right up next to it. RFID could actually be read from a fair distance away if you've got an active scanner that has enough power, as you would know if you had ever been through one of the toll collecting devices. The scanners certainly aren't right up next to your car. They're several feet, if not dozens of feet away.